Okay, here we go. Good news is I can actually trim this in YouTube later on. Hey everyone, welcome to Prop Live. Totally on time, and we were really prepared for this. This is the show we do every week where we take your prop and costume making questions and answer them for you. Here's my buddy Steve from Stephen K. Smith Props. I have his page here on the Facebooks. If we swap over, boop, there you go. Steve is known for doing a lot of really cool stuff, including Borderlands masks, and you have a new one here.
I do. I have a brand new sculpt of the traditional Psycho Bandit
here
with glowing LED eyes.
Get it right up there.
Get it right. And new leather stitched strapping and cell shading. So,
yeah. So what he means is that the stitching on here has holes punched. How many holes?
224 holes.
224 holes drilled through the resin, the nice plastic resin, and then stitched with, it looks like a nice
actual leather cording.
Leather cording. There you go. Check that out. So of the many things that Steve makes, a Borderlands Psycho mask might have been one of the things that you've seen from him. So yeah, definitely go over to Facebook, give his page a like. And what's your let's grab this really quick. What's your Etsy store?
Etsy shop.com/ well, if you go to Etsy.com.
Etsy. And we look for
Borderlands mask.
Let's see how many of these are yours.
A good chunk of them are
many. Oh, so there are a lot of them. Wow. There are a lot of Borderlands masks. Holy crap.
That's not a Borderlands mask.
But the main ones
this
that
guy
I sell
right here.
Are, yeah, that one.
There you go. So Captain Hask on Etsy. So definitely go check that out, you guys, because Steve refuses to make his masks more expensive, despite what I tell him. So really, really amazing prop work and really, really good price. Go check it out. All right. First of all, before we get rolling here, we didn't do any prep, so we don't have any questions from earlier today. So those of you guys watching live, use the Q&A app, send us some questions, and we'll start answering those very soon.
Through Google Hangout?
Through the Google Hangout thing, through the event page.
You want to do an unboxing?
What do we have?
Look at.
What?
I know.
We have, all right, this is unprecedented,
Breaking
everyone.
news.
We have a giant box for me, Northern Brewer, which we did already start drinking today.
It has Brew Alert on it.
Yeah, what the what? Do you know what this is?
Is this the thing you're talking about, Harrison?
I don't know. That box.
About a name for something?
No, this is like a. Oh, this is Alyssa's.
Oh, this is Alyssa's?
What? Okay, this isn't for me.
Oh, never mind.
We'll put that back in.
All right.
Our friend. Yeah. All right. Take it away. What? I don't know what's. Anyway, we have friends coming in for Emerald City Comic Con. You want to stand on that side? There we go. Emerald City Comic Con starts tomorrow here in our great city of Seattle, and we're going. I'm going to be a guest. I have a booth at U10 where I'll be selling my books. I'm on 4 panels, and I'm judging the contest. So I hope to see a lot of you guys there. You'll see Steve there.
I'll be dressed up as a Destiny Hunter on Friday and Saturday, and as a Psycho Bandit on Sunday.
There you go. And you can see, this is what we'll look like. We had our costumes on earlier today, and we went to Bungee, which was cool.
It was very cool.
Brittany used to work there. We have some friends there, so we went and stopped by. And then we went and took some photos in the park. So you'll see those coming soon. Other than that, that's really it. Emerald City, books.
Should be awesome.
It's going to be cool. I'm really stoked. All right. This one is from Mentosente. Pretty sure I nailed that.
You did.
All right. One question. Any advice to solder LED and make the solders and wires very durable so they don't end up breaking with movement and torsion while I move? That's a pretty good question because I've actually had that happen before.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is to that because on my Dead Space costume, the whole back rig had LEDs in there and everything, and I had the LEDs bricked twice where I had to, after Phoenix, had to take them back home and resolder the whole thing. So.
Yeah, I've had like in my Shepherd armor, one of the nipple lights. I don't know why. There's 2 LEDs in each one of those, and one of them went out. And I know it's just the soldering was crummy on it. Generally, good soldering helps a lot. Using a heavier gauge wire and soldering really well. I know early on a lot of my solders broke because my soldering sucked.
Yeah, and that was with me with Dead Space. That was the first time I had actually soldered.
Yeah.
And the wiring itself, but the wire gauge was also pretty light.
Yeah. So get a heavier gauge wire, twist the ends together, and then work on your soldering skill. And also put heat shrink tubing on it. That helps a lot. And if you can, hot glue the crap out of it, and that'll help as well. A lot of times you can even, like if it's part of your costume, you don't even need the heat shrink tube. You just put tons of hot glue in there.
The duct tape for us.
Yes, definitely. All right. Oh, we were talking about this earlier today. Sam wants to know, do you have a preferred brand for metallic paints, specifically copper paints? Well, I can tell you, I've been painting with Tamiya recently. Is it gonna focus? No. Anyway, Tamiya paints. They come in little things like this. Their metallic paints are really good. These are acrylic. They have a very distinct smell.
That they do.
Not sure what that is. But I've been enjoying these a lot lately, and they come in a lot of different metallic colors.
And me personally, I like Liquitex heavy body metallics. Make sure that when you look at them, they do have ones that are bright. The ones that are bright usually tend not to have as much opacity to them, so you have to put on multiple layers. But I've had really good luck with the copper version specifically lately on my third man masks. I use that to dry brush the whole top of it.
That's pretty good. I'm trying to see here. Is Britt put notes? No, I'll do notes. So we had Tamiya and Liquitex.
Liquitex heavy body acrylics.
And those are here. Yeah, check this out. Boop. These guys. Heavy body acrylics. That's pretty cool. Now, when you say heavy body, do they just cover better?
Yeah, the opacity is considerably coverage-wise. I mean, when you go to a Hobby Lobby, you see the $1.30 tubes of the hard craft paint versus, paying the $8 for that. I mean, the coverage difference is big.
Yeah. And that's why I like the Tamiya stuff. It tends to cover really, really well. I mean, a tiny jar like this was like $3 or $4. This is 23 milliliters. I don't know what that is in ounces, but about 1. But a little does go a very long way, which is really nice. Thank you for your question, Sam. Britt says looking good. Thanks, Britt. Not a question though. I'm deleting it. Okay, here's one from Rob. He wants to know about my laser, which we're gonna have to play with later.
We are.
Yeah. What power laser tube did yours come with? What material thickness will it cut? He's doing a DIY cutter. So I got a full spectrum laser, and I'll write all this down too, so that it's in the notes. Boop, 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 boop. There's my notes. All right, full spectrum laser. Oh, Britt's writing in there too. FSL. The Hobby, the 5th generation Hobby laser. It's got a 45 watt tube in it. And the normal one with the 5th generation is 40 watts. I got the 45 watt one mostly because it's a little more powerful, but also it has a longer lifespan. And I plan on using it a lot. I don't want it to die in the first year, and then I have to replace it. So I upgraded that a little bit. It will cut through materials 1/4 inch is generally the maximum. One thing I learned about lasers, you would imagine like a laser pointer, it's like a straight beam, right? Like if you let it go, it's just gonna cut all the way through until it hits something and it stops. It doesn't work that way. It has to be focused to get like that kind of cutting power. So the beam actually scatters once it gets beyond like 1/4 inch. You can get different lenses to focus differently. But for the most part, 1/4 inch with that guy. I will say though, the 1/2 inch floor mats, I've got some over there. I can cut through those. They're 1/2 inch thick, but the material offers so little resistance.
Of the material helps.
Yeah. The problem is after a while, the fidelity of the cut kind of goes away because it scatters so much. When you put a piece in there, you have to set the height of the focusing lens to be a certain height away based on the lens. Otherwise, it'll be too scattered and it won't cut the surface, which I've done before. It was supposed to like etch the surface, and it was just kind of warming up the surface. And it doesn't take much. If you're like another 1/4 of an inch off, it won't cut. So, lots of good things to know about the laser. Lots of things you'll learn when you start doing it. See, Rob here is looking with a 40, a 60, or an 80. I mean, if you're gonna build your own, you might as well go with 80.
Might as well.
The 40 for what I do, the 45-watt one does the trick. Okay, cool. Keep going. Oh, good. Britt's on top of the notes. This is awesome. Next question comes from Matastrophic Matastrophe. Okay. I want to have small LED light arrays and circuits and switches pre-wired for me so I can install them, but I have no idea how to arrange this with a supplier. Do you have any advice? Help me to find the right company and communicate with them to do this. This sounds right up your alley, Steve.
Well, I mean, it depends. I would go out and actually contact several different companies that supply LEDs, a lot of hobby LEDs. I get my LEDs from a model train company that puts them out there, and I buy so much they tend to offer sometimes bulk pricing on that. It would not be going to Radio Shack because Radio Shack prices are
also they're all closing.
Yeah,
have you been to one lately?
Which figures the 3 around me. I live in Kansas City. 3 around me not closing.
Oh
yeah.
The one here did.
So everyone's posting 90% off sales, getting all this good stuff, and I go to all 3.
Actually, while we're on the subject, I'll show you. I didn't go. Actually, by the time I got there, it was pretty picked over. I got a couple of neat things, just some stuff I wouldn't normally buy. I got a big, I don't know what it's called, a sheet with holes in it. A sheet with holes in it, you know. This is my cool electronics kit over here. I got a bunch of like alligator clips because those are always useful to have. But I got some switches. Just a couple to play with. So this, hope you guys can see it. This is a tiny little switch. Little button on there. Boop, boop, boop. I don't know what I would use that for, but it was like 36 cents, so I bought it. And then this one is bigger, but it is set up so that when something rolls against it, it clicks on. So
again, one of those things that you'll have in there.
And someday I'm going to need it. Yeah. So anyway, so you ended up with a model train supplier. Hobby places, basically just shop around and look for places that'll
like
you can do a deal with.
But they don't do like what you're saying, like the like circuit switches and all that. I mean, they're just like single LEDs. They're designed for like the little tiny houses and little tiny train cars. They don't do a multi-array. Yeah.
Yep. Or look for other hobbyists that might be able to help you out with that. See what other people are doing. I do wire all my stuff. And I don't do anything complex. I do lights and batteries and switches. So I just do that all myself. And I don't do volume. So I have this with LEDs. Thank you, Matastrophic Matastrophe. All right. Once again, folks, if you got questions, send them in via the Q&A app, and we'll answer them for you. This next one comes from Albert. This one's for Steven. How do you weather the fabric for your hunter cloak? We were talking about this earlier. And how do you use a sander without losing
a finger?
Yeah.
Or their fingerprint.
Right.
We actually were just talking about this not more than half an hour ago. With my hunter cloak, it's actually a pretty thick upholstery foam. Fabric, not foam. I do so much foam lately.
Yeah.
See what happens. And it basically, I did take it to my belt sander, and if you just put it directly on the belt sander, the biggest issue you run is that it's going to take it
in
down.
into there,
It's going to take it down in there, and it's going to mess it up.
Yep.
So what I found is I actually wrap a piece of foam behind it on the areas that I want to be worn off, and then that way you can control only this section is going to get worn. Where you're not, it's not skipping it too much. And then as far as the rest of my weathering, if you look at my Facebook page, I actually took it into my shop and took it outside on the patio and roughed it up some. So it's got actual SKS props shop grime.
Delicious. Oh, fortunately, I mean, I can't do that here because this place is so spotless.
It is. Yeah. Why did you clean it? I mean, it looks so nice.
Yeah, it does. No, we were in dire need of cleaning around here. And fortunately, I have shop mates. I was like, guys, let's do this. And the whole place got cleaned up in a day.
So
nice.
The other thing I did after I did the belt sander, I then took a couple different wire brushes that I had for cleaning my chisels and really took it on my concrete floor and dug at it until it frayed it enough to kind of give it that weathered, torn look to it. The other thing I've heard and I saw from some of the Star Wars guys out there is you can still do the weathering and cutting of it and then like throw it into the washing machine, and it should also help with the fraying of it.
So do you just wash it with just like the cold wash, or?
I would assume so. I did not do that because my design that's on there is actually masked off with masking tape, and then I used camo spray paint to get the design that I wanted.
I just noticed. I hung these up to dry, and they're getting a little.
Need to flip it.
A little floppy. I think I'll just lay it down. Sorry to cut you off.
And so I was a little worried about that camo paint coming off in the wash, so that's why I didn't go that direction with it.
Got you, yeah. So but when you say you put it in the washing machine,
that's what I saw some of the guys that do the Boba Fett cloaks and whatnot. They'll cut it up and then they'll throw it in the washing machine to help it fray more.
I can see. My only worry would be like getting like threads and stuff caught in the.
And they just unravel the whole thing.
Or just
a big long
gumming up the machine. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's fun. Weathering is always really fun, especially when it's like cloth where you can burn it and stuff. All right, here we go. This one's from Rob. Didn't get to see if you got to this the other day, but if you didn't, getting paid by PayPal for kits and commissions, do you have a trick to avoid fraudulent refunds after you've already sent the finished work out? I've never had a problem with that. No.
I haven't either. I've been very lucky. I've lots of orders over the last 2 years, and all my customers have been great.
Yeah. The gist of it is someone pays you with PayPal, and there's like a grace period where they can like refute the claim, or they can make a claim or whatever to get their money back after they've gotten their thing. So sometimes people will do that on purpose and just steal stuff that way. It has never happened to me. Oh, I'm getting paid.
But the other thing that I do too is with all of everything I send out, always has a signature confirmation on it. So that way, usually Etsy, eBay, and all those, they'll respect the fact that, hey, look, this was actually signed for on this date at this time.
Yeah. So there's a paper trail that shows that they actually got their thing. So with PayPal, if there is a claim like that, there can be like a trial process where they can go through and present, evidence that you actually got it.
But I'll say too that I go primarily through Etsy because they are behind the artist more. It seems like they're out to help the artist. So.
Yeah, a lot of times with PayPal, claims tend to favor the person who is paying for something. It happens with me, not a lot, but occasionally I'll get someone who bought an ebook from me and they didn't, for whatever reason, they didn't get emailed a link, or the files didn't work or something, and they'll file a claim. And then the money is sort of held, is frozen. And it's like $5 at a time. But then I have to usually I'll respond like, hey, here's a link to go download it, no problem, and they'll take care of it. I could see how if that was done for a prop that was like thousands of dollars, how that would
That'd be an
really,
issue.
really suck. All right. Here's a question I've been getting a lot of lately. Jay wants to know, hey, Bill, how's the visibility in your Titan helmet? You know what? It's not great. I got a lot of response the other day, people suggesting stuff about the Titan helmet. I built that thing really fast. Like, I don't know, maybe 10 hours of work went into that thing. And I knew, like the design of it, how do you see, right? Because the finish on it isn't like a visor finish.
Right.
It's like metal or something.
Metallic, yeah.
So I could sculpt a helmet, vacuum form it, and get it kind of close and see out of it. But that would take forever. And I had 2 days, to build this helmet. So I just made it out of foam, and there's a little slot right here, a tiny little slot. I put a sheer black cloth so that you can't see in at all. Otherwise, it would just be my nose, just my nose sticking out of there. And I can see this much. And I posted, actually, I'll show you guys a picture on my Facebook page. I posted a picture kind of what it looks like on the inside. It's not the same effect because my face isn't in there. I just stuck my phone in there. Where is it? It's almost there. There we go. So that's kind of what it looks like on the inside. This tiny, like 1/2 inch wide by 1 inch tall rectangle that I can see out of, kind of. Now, the only real downside is my eyes aren't in the middle of my face. So I have to like turn my head and like look at an angle, and then I can kind of see straight ahead.
But you also made it too. I mean, I can
tip it up really easily.
easy,
Yeah.
So.
In fact, I probably won't be wearing it most of the day unless someone wants a photo. I can dump the bucket on my head, take a photo, take it off. And I designed it that way. Just mostly it was because I needed a helmet really fast. But no, the visibility is not great. All right. This one from Michael. Since you run your own creative and very unique business, how do you find people to meet with and socialize in your daily life? Why would I want to do that?
It's so comforting just being in your basement.
Oh, I know. Why would I ever
stuff.
leave?
Why would you leave?
Why would I leave? Truth be told, most of my social circle are people I've known from like college. People who aren't like in the cosplay community, I guess, at large. So like when I go out and be social, like my friends and I will go. We have the AFK Elixirs and Eatery place down here. It's like a geek themed bar and restaurant. And it's really cool. So my friends and I will go there when we're being social. But I don't do that much because I'm always in the shop making stuff.
Yeah. And I'm actually the opposite on that. I've met so many friends from doing cosplay the last couple of years that it seems to be the circle I'm running in nowadays.
Yeah.
But I could see too, it's like running a business. Plus, I've got a wife and 2 beautiful little daughters, and so I am constantly busy and just don't have time unless it comes to convention time, and then that's kind of our break to get away and see all of our friends.
Yeah, so that's what we're like this weekend. We have friends all over the country and world, and a handful of them, Steve included, are coming to Emerald City ComicCon. So we're making a thing out of it. You know, we have friends that we met in these circles that we don't get to see very often, so we just make it awesome. This next question is from Strongbad, totally not Brittany. Bill, how do you type with costume gloves on? Sincerely, for Britt upstairs. You ever watch Strongbad? I don't. Oh, damn it. Wasted on you. Strongbad gets emails all the time. He's a cartoon character, and he always wears boxing gloves. So the question he gets all the time is, how do you type with boxing gloves on? All right, here's one from Matthew. Steven, just wondering how you did the green eyes on your hunter mask and how the visibility is. It's pretty much the same as this, right?
Yeah, it's the same process that I've used in my Psycho masks for several years now. So I have front-facing LEDs, and I make metal brackets to hold them. And then I elongate the sculpt of the face so you look out underneath of the LED. And like Bill, I use black scrim, so you can see out, but they can't see in.
Yeah, so we can even put it up to the camera. You guys can kind of see.
It's like looking through sunglasses.
Yeah, you can see out of that really well, but you can't really see in. Well, once it's darkened.
Yeah, pressed against the face,
you can't see in like that.
So that's the same process though that I used on the Third Man. The only other difference was the top light is backed with 2 layers of it, since you're not obviously seeing out of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's very similar to the way we did it with the joggers. It's just above your eyes. Works out really well. It's one of those. I think people assume that there's a higher tech solution involved. Like, how do you do that? And does it blind you? I'm like, just put them up here. I just put the lights a little higher.
But the trick is to elongate your overall sculpt to begin with, to make it look like the light is going to be the middle of your eye.
Yeah. And that's just a lot of trial and error. With our joggers, we just had to trial and error with the placement of the skull mask that we got, the rubber mask, and then where we glued the lights in place. All right, Val wants to know, I wanted to make a shield out of polystyrene, and I want to vacuum form it. How do you build your makeshift vacuum forming box? First of all, polystyrene is not heat resistant, and vacuum forming on top of it will probably melt. I know this because I did that, and it melted. Yeah, usually with vacuum forming, you want to vacuum form on top of something, your buck that you use, like I was showing you before over there. I have a vacuum form buck I use to make a visor for someone, and it's made out of hydrocal, which is like a plaster. I made a mold, and I cast it, and it's like rock. It's rock solid. It absorbs heat really well. That or something like wood, like MDF, would be great for vacuum forming. Something that's dense and sturdy, and a polystyrene would probably melt right away. But if you build your shield buck out of something different, or maybe he means he's using polystyrene like styrene, like this sheet plastic, like high impact styrene. Like maybe you're vacuum forming with that, because that's what I would use to vacuum form a shield. So I don't know what your buck is, but that stuff is really good for vacuum forming. Anyway, a makeshift vacuum forming box. I can't really recommend how I did it because I use my oven, and that's a bad idea. I don't do that anymore. I did that like once or twice. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. I can tell you, however, that the Stan Winston school. You ever watch any Stan Winston school videos?
I do.
Yeah.
Didn't Fawn just have one?
He did. Oh. Fawn Davis just put up a vacuum forming video. Let's see. Fawn Davis. We'll just look him up by name, and we'll find him. Fawn's a crazy awesome guy. He here we go.
Build a vacuum form.
Yeah, build a vacuum form. Okay, so how to make a sci-fi helmet part 1. Build a vacuum form machine. If you look at that up on the Stan Winston School, and we'll have a link. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. I'll copy and paste that right now for Britt. That's going to be your best bet. Now, a lot of the, I mean, the Stan Winston School videos are, oops, there we go. I mean, you got to buy them, but let me tell you this right now, they're worth it. Totally freaking worth it. I got one on doing metallic finishes. I still haven't gathered all the supplies for it. They're low. The paint they use, an 8-ounce thing, is like $80. But their tutorials are really, really good. Other than that, do you know if Harrison put together?
Harrison put together one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of places online where people have shown how they've made their own vacuum form tables. But the idea is pretty sound. You just have like a big heating element and a frame to put your plastic in. You heat it up, and then you drop it down on a table that's got holes in it connected to some sort of vacuum. And it sucks it down into the shape. Let's see if I can find it. What if I look up Volpin Props vacuum form machine? I bet that'll find it. Vacuum former? There it is. Protoform vacuum forming machine. This is the old one. This is the old one that Harrison made. Oh no, wait, this is the new one here. So we'll link to both of these. So there's a couple good resources. They'll be in the show notes later. Oops, there we go. And add it to the notes. There you go. Anyway, 2 good resources for you to go check out there, Val. So good luck. Don't put it in your oven. All right, another one from Albert. For your foam books, let's see. Oh, do you have any plans to do them in Spanish? The cosplay community in Latin America is growing, and a good place for your foam cult.
Foam cult.
I like that it's turning into a cult. Will and I want to walk around with like a briefcase made out of foam, go door to door, and be like, "Have you heard the word of foam?" Just like preach the good word of foam.
Which I didn't do foam until I talked to you in Phoenix a year ago.
I do want to get my books into other languages. The logistics of getting that done are kind of tricky because I only speak the one language. No hablas español. What's lo siento? I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. But we definitely do want to do that. We'll see going forward how well we can make that happen. All right. Oh, someone Willard says it's well worth getting the PDF building plans that Harrison recommends. Talking about the vacuum former. A lot of times you may be hesitant to throw money at certain things, but things like the Stan Winston School videos are all at least the ones I've seen, totally worth throwing the money at. The plans for the vacuum former that Harrison used are definitely worth the money as well. This is a good one. This one's from Fattest Ace. How do you keep cool in your costumes at conventions? So we both had our costumes on earlier today, out in the sun, running around. That helmet, by the way, the foam helmet does not breathe. It's just a hot box on your noggin. So
by this question, would say that we keep cool, not well.
Not well, yeah. So good story about Steve at Dragon Con last year. Showed up at my room. No one was there. Actually, my sister-in-law was there. Showed up in his Dragon Age costume, dying.
It was after the parade. I did a parade in the Inquisitor costume. That's one of the stupidest things. The second stupidest thing was wearing Dead Space to Phoenix. That was dumb.
Right, anything to Phoenix is dumb.
But yeah, I showed up to Bill's room hoping someone would be there just so I could take it off for 5 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. I have a very hard time picking out a costume that doesn't have multiple layers to it. Like even the hunter costume I've got, it's 3 different layers of shirts, plus pants, plus helmet, plus cloak. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to wear for extended periods of time. But
that's kind of your thing, isn't it?
It looks cool, so it
does look neat.
It's done for that, right?
Yep. we suffer for our art. That is how we do. Sorry, I'm just touching up. I some dust fell on my paint job. Can't have that. All right. There are a lot of tricks you can do to try and keep cool at a convention in your costume. Take breaks, drink lots of water. Take your helmet off every once in a while. I find like I'll just take my forearm pieces off. That helps a lot. But take breaks and drink lots of water. That helps too. All right. Sam wants to know, hey, Bill, how is the Epsillon holding up on your Titan armor? Not great. It got pretty beat up on the trip to and from London. It doesn't flex at all, so it's cracking. And on the Draugr costume, that's not a problem because it supposed to look all beat up, but on the Titan costume, it kind of is. So it's not amazing. I should have either not used Epsillon or used way more Epsillon, because if I had used more, it would have been more durable. For Steven, what did you use to seal your hunter armor?
For the hunter, I use Plasti Dip and spray can for that.
Yeah. How many layers would you say you put on?
I'd say that I probably did 3 to 4 thin layers. That's the key to that. So you don't get rid of your details and whatnot. Make sure they're thin. Be patient with it. But like for the Inquisitor, I did a lot of Mod Podge on there because I wanted to let it have kind of a realistic cracking look.
Yeah. And
if you bend the foam back with Mod Podge, it keeps the creases a little bit better.
I gotcha.
So when you do a wash, it'll actually look creased. So it really depends on the look you're trying to go for. I mean, if you're wanting it to have that age look, you could do something like Mod Podge. If you want it to be a little more resistant, then you can do the plastic in the spray can.
There you go. I ended up putting 8 layers of Plasti Dip on my helmet. Just a whole can. Just kept going. It still kept all the, not that there wasn't a ton of detail on there anyway, but as long as you're doing thin layers of the Plasti Dip, you can put a lot of layers on. All right, thank you, Sam. Here's one from Ice Pick Method. If you built a vacuum former, would you weld it together or use extruded T-slot aluminum? I don't know what extruded T-slot aluminum is, but I would probably weld it because I've never welded before, and I think that would be a good excuse to learn.
Yeah, vacuum former is definitely on my to-do list of things to build.
Mm-hmm. Little known fact about my shopmate Will, who he's not over there. That's where he usually is, though. He used to weld professionally. So as soon as I get a welder,
you're just gonna have him teach you.
He'll teach me. Yeah. Apparently, we can't do it here though. He said fire hazard. Just everywhere is a fire hazard.
Chemicals, rags, paint. Whatever.
We got to find an offsite location to learn how to weld. But I definitely want to do that. Oh, here's a good one. Another one from Albert. Bill, what kind of sharpener do you use for your blades? Well, I work in this area right here, and I don't even have to move to tell you that my sharpener is right here. And this one is a Kershaw sharpener right here. And I have my knife thing here, and I'll hit it up with that WD-40 right there, and I'll sharpen the edges of it. I also replace blades frequently, but it's a lot faster to sharpen it than to replace blades. So I'll sharpen it, do a couple cuts, sharpen it again. So Kershaw sharpener, and I'm sure we'll have a link to that in the notes. Well worth the investment, the $30 or something. Boop. Do you use a sharpener? You just throw away a lot of blades.
It depends. I mean, I don't use the blades near as much now that I use a bandsaw.
That's true.
For doing the foam work.
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity, bandsaws will go through foam like butter.
Yes.
And you won't have to go through a lot of blades.
There you go. What was the other thing? Oh, did you see Harrison? For some reason, I guess it would be a good idea to keep your used blades.
Oh, his jar of used
blades. Like in a can, so they don't get
in glass.
Yeah, so they don't like go through your trash bag or something. Yeah, he had all of his like old, rusty, disused like X-Acto blades in a glass jar, and that fell on the ground. It's the worst thing to shatter. It's a glass shattered jar full of rusty blades. Good on you, Harrison. All right, Willard wants to know, Bill, you said you needed a larger bandsaw. Would you consider building one yourself? No. Done. No, I'm not going to build my own power tools.
No.
This one's from Matt. Question is for everyone. How does going to a con as a guest, doing panels, etc., work? Who contacts who? Who foots the bill? And when did you turn that corner as a prop maker? You've been as a guest before, or you usually?
I was a guest at Kansas City last weekend, and I'll be a guest at 2 more cons this year.
Cool.
As far as contacting, it's honestly, I contacted them. You kind of do the legwork. It's one of those, I contacted them. I had a resume of what I've built, what I've done, pictures of all my costumes, what they've been in. So like my Inquisitor being in Lindsay Sterling's videos,
that's a pretty
that
big
goes
deal.
a little ways. The fact that, I've built stuff for, some of the other video game companies. But, once they see all that, then I think it's harder still for prop makers to get invited as guests, more so than cosplayers. But I think it's changing to that.
Yeah.
People are recognizing the skill that goes into a lot of it.
So really what you have to do is be able to offer them something that will bring value to their convention. Consider looking up what a media kit is. Essentially, it shows off who you are and what you can do for them and what you would want in return. And it's a value proposition. Generally, what you and I could offer is running panels, judging costume contests, running a booth. Like they may want you to run a booth for them. There's lots of different things that you can do for them. Helping promote it on social media.
Definitely.
That's a big one. In fact, some conventions, there's one I'm doing soon they in our agreement they said, hey, we need you to post twice a month about it, and then the couple of weeks beforehand, twice a week, promote the convention because I'm there to help as a draw to help bring people in. What you could expect from them, the general thing is if it's local, piece of cake. Emerald City is here. I'm a guest there this weekend. They said, hey, do you want a booth to sell your books? And I was like, deal. That works out great because they don't have to put out a bill for accommodations because I live so close, or travel. It works out great for me because I can bring my books to a place to sell where there will be a captive audience to sell them. And it costs me nothing. And it costs them nothing except for lost revenue on maybe one booth.
Yeah, one booth,
Yeah.
which is nothing to them. But, you know, being a guest is one thing. You know, when you're talking about doing panels, I mean, anyone can submit to do a panel.
Yeah.
So if there's something that you want to talk about, you know, you just get in touch with that convention's community manager.
Especially if it's a local convention. So we started doing this here. So we've done panels at PAX, Emerald City Comic-Con. We have Geek Girl Con. I haven't personally done one there, but there's another local convention. Offer to do a panel at the convention. Generally, you'll get a free badge, at least for that day, out of it. And that's a great way to get your foot in the door. Great way to meet the people who run the conventions, and just sort of get your wheels running on it. But in general, like for me, people have come to me to be guests at like I was just in London for London Super Comic-Con. It was awesome. They said, hey, do you want to, we'll fly you out, we'll put you in a hotel, and we'll give you a booth.
And how do you say no to that?
And they said you have to run the costume contest, or not run it, but be a judge in the costume contest, and do a panel. I was like, I can do all of those things. This is a great value proposition, especially for me to be able to go there and sell books. So I left that weekend with a free trip to London, and I made some money. So everyone wins in that situation. That's generally the deal. Some people will want a daily per diem, basically get paid per day to be there, or a guarantee. So if you're running a booth, you may say, the booth is great, but I got to make sure I make X amount in the weekend, and if I don't make that much, the convention has to cover it. So that's another thing that happens. I don't do that. Maybe I will someday. I don't know. It depends. But there's a lot going on there. Basically, you want to just provide value for them and expect value in return. And what's valuable to you may be different than someone else. All right, here we go. Kat wants to know, I just wanted to say that I've been watching Steven's Hunter build on the RPF with great interest. That reminds me, I started a thread on my Titan costume on the RPF. I should go finish that.
Yeah, maybe you should.
I have 16 days worth of photos documented, ready to go, and I just haven't put that up there. Kat says, I can't wait to see you at Emerald City Comic-Con this weekend.
Awesome.
Hooray!
Well, I'll be walking around in it, like I said, Friday and Saturday.
Awesome. You'll have to hang out at my booth a little bit too.
Yeah,
booth
definitely.
U10, the letter U, the number 10. And we'll have both have our Destiny costumes on.
Do I get a per diem?
I mean, I'll get you a sandwich or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Steven's my booth babe. That's really
For a sandwich. You see, I'm moving up.
yeah. Digital Zen wants to know if you had experience with bonding foam to fabric. If so, what bonding glues or methods did you find were the most successful? Do you have any foam and fabric combinations in yours? I bet you do.
Not in this one, but I learned a lot from Dragon Age.
Yes.
That was my very first foam build, and the entire costume is foam. So all the leather, all the straps, everything. Which, yeah, it was awesome and it looked cool. Didn't work so well because some of the foam straps in high tension areas were ripping.
Yeah.
And so, but now I've gone back and I've backed all of them, cut them, redid them, backed them with foam, and I used Barge.
There you go.
There and on top of, with the fabric, and they're not going to rip.
Yeah, there you go. Brittany did the same thing. She's got some bracers that we did of craft foam that we laser cut because you got a laser.
Because you have a laser cutter. Why not?
You could do the same thing if you use like a knife to score it and hit it with a heat gun. It would just do a very similar thing. And then she just the same thing. Use a contact cement like Barge. Brush it on the back of the foam. Brush it on the cloth. Squish them together, and then the durability of that foam goes through the roof. Like it's awesome. So I would recommend just using contact cement. We're going to take a couple more questions before we roll out of here. This one's from Willard. How did Bungie like the visit today? They seem pretty stoked.
They were pretty happy.
Yeah. My experience with video game companies, when they see something from their video game that's like walking around, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And I'll say they surprised me with it. I didn't know we were going there, so they're like, "Oh yeah, we're just stopping off here at Bungie." And I was like, "Oh."
I was trying to actually. I don't know if you know this. So we were gonna go do a shoot with our costumes. So I was like, "Oh, Steve, let's get in the car. We'll go do a shoot." And I was like, "Oh, we have to walk to the park. It's like totally over here." And instead, we were walking to Bungie, and we walked past the park on the way there. When we were crossing the street, someone passed us and said, "Hey, are you going to Bungie?" Someone said that out loud, and I was like, "Shh." But yeah, then we basically got out of the elevator, walked to the front door, and I was like, "Oh, we have to stop here first."
But yeah, it's pretty cool to go in and, like I said, have our pictures in front of the signs and see some of their display props and whatnot.
The Lego icebreaker was there. Yeah. That was pretty cool. Or it may have been Mega Blocks.
Mega Blocks.
Can't remember. Here we go. This one's from Jackie. I wanted to ask if you have ever completed any large-scale competitions, and do you have any advice if so? I used to race sailboats, but I don't compete in costumes.
I don't either. I do it for fun now. It's just, if I can have fans that enjoy my build, that's all that matters.
Yep.
So
if I can successfully run my company, that is the only challenge that matters. Let's see here. Oh, this one's really good. Another one from Albert. We were talking about this earlier today, too. Albert wants to know, when you cut foam in the bandsaw, do you use a regular band or a band in specific, meaning the blade? So the blade that's in there right now, is that like what you have? You want to go check it out? So I have an 18 TPI blade in there. It's for metal cutting.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, and it does a pretty good job of it. But you can get scalloped blades where the edge of it's actually ground to a sharp edge, like a knife. Those apparently are much better. So I'm going to get some of those and try them out.
But we were talking about if you get the bigger tooth, it's going to be pulling out a lot.
Yeah,
a lot more.
I'll show you actually. We got the blades over here. And I keep this one for doing wood, like hogging out a bunch of wood. Like this is a 6 TPI blade, I think. Something like a 6 tooth per inch. You can kind of tell. If I were to, and the other thing too is the blades are offset. The teeth are like that, like ding, ding, ding. So it makes a wider cut than you might assume at first glance. And if you ran the foam through this, it'll cut it, but it leaves like massive grooves in the side.
Yeah, so the farther you get that, the less work. And when I cut foam out using the bandsaw anyway, I get too close to the line, but I don't get to it, and then I take it over to the Dremel or I take it to the belt sander and finish it off.
Yeah. Cool. Here we go from Mentau. I make a lot of swords for cosplay and commission, and I'm like obsessed with blade straightness. And MDF is really bad at keeping straight. Any tip to solve that so I don't end up buying expensive natural woods or easy scratchable PVC foam? When I'm making blades, usually I go with like poplar, something with a grain in it, something that's going to keep its shape really well. That's what I've done in the past. And it's not too expensive. Poplar, you can get boards at the hardware store for fairly cheap, and it's fairly hard and durable. That's what I would recommend. Or make it out of foam. Here we go. Snicked Sniper says, what do you recommend to cut MDF with if you don't have a scroll saw or other machinery? Where's my coping saw? I have a drawer full of saws over there. A coping saw is pretty good, useful one. But if you want to just get something to start with, get like a $20 jigsaw from Harbor Freight.
Yeah,
That'll get you going.
that's how I started my first one.
Yeah, that one broke.
Mine broke too, and I had to go buy a scroll saw.
Yeah. But I have another one. Actually, what I really want to get is a battery powered jigsaw, a really nice one someday. But I can't do that until my current one breaks. So it might have an accident. That's you know what? That's about it, you guys. Thanks for everyone who showed up on the spur of the moment. Sorry I didn't post a thing earlier today.
We were a little busy.
We were pretty busy running around. I had to bring all of my books and stuff to the convention, drop those off. I got stuck in traffic in Seattle. It's been a crazy day.
And then running around Seattle in costume.
Yeah, like you do. Anyway, folks, Emerald City Comic Con this weekend. Look for me and Steve. If you haven't already, go to Steve's Facebook page, Stephen K. Smith Props. If you haven't checked out the Patreon page for this show, I'm going to show that real quick. Patreon.com/punishedprops is where we go for that. And we're doing it per week now because we're going to try and put more content in every week, which means more video streams, more live video streams from the shop, more really cool stuff. So head on over there and check that out if you'd like to contribute to the show. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Thank you, Steve, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You got it, man. So long, everyone. See you next week.